Welcome to E2 Chiropractic, where we are going to help you to escalate your development and elevate chiropractic. Now, this is a special series of videos that I'm going to create specifically for the E2 Chiropractic channel around accelerated learning and development. If you are a student chiropractor, the principles that I'm going to discuss within this section or series of videos are going to help you to learn more quickly, to memorize things better, to implement and apply your learnings, and therefore grow at a more accelerated rate. It's such an important series of videos for the student chiropractor, but it's equally important for the new graduate chiropractor because you want to apply those same accelerated learning strategies to your professional development or your personal development so that you can grow at the most accelerated rate as a new chiropractor. So you can warp time through these techniques instead of waiting 2, 3, or 5 years to develop the expertise that you would like and that you would need. Then you can bring it back to a quicker time frame, and so grow at a more accelerated rate, and therefore get to the points of experience and outcomes that you would like to be at way ahead of schedule, i.e. changing the time frame of your growth and development. So every once in a while I'm going to post a specific video around accelerated learning and development so that you can know and understand these principles are available to you to learn, to implement and apply in your own growth and learning. So I'm going to start with a really important principle today, and that is that you learn what you are interested in. Now I'm going to repeat that. You learn what you're interested in. You learn more easily, more quickly, and retain in memory that which you're more interested in, that which is more relevant to you. And so this is a really important thing to take into consideration. So for example, if I'm talking to a young person, I assume you might be to be a new graduate or a student, you don't necessarily need to be in your early 20s. You could have had another career and come to chiropractic in your 30s or 40s. So when you talk to a younger person in their 20s, they will have different interests and different conversations that they will naturally gravitate towards than maybe a 30, 40 or 40-year-old who's either a student or is graduating as a chiropractor. And so they will have different interests. The conversations they have will be different in terms of their interest to them. So there may be some, maybe some party animals in your year or that you have graduated with, and they love going out and they're talking about what the bands are, what the incredible drinks and cocktails that are available are, and the 40-year-old in that, in your group has got children, has had a complete career, and their life is very focused, and they have zero interest in going out, having massive drinks and massive parties, and still trying to rock up the next day, study for uni and pass an exam because they've got to go home to their kids and their family. So again, you can see there's this big disparity between some kids want to party, not everyone. Some kids, some grown-ups have to go home and look after the kids. And I'm not saying that if you're 22, you're not a grown-up. I get that you are. What I'm just trying to play at here is the difference between those two demographics or psychographics and the interests that they will have. That exact same principle applies to your willingness to learn. So if you have no interest in learning all the names of the muscles, their attachment points, their origin, their insertion, their innervation and their actions, and you're like, I just need to get through this and see if I can just pass the test, and then it goes all out of your mind because you're not interested. But you were so interested in the neuroanatomy because you loved all those pathways and how the prefrontal cortex activates perception, enhances ability as a person to make decisions, stick to those decisions, and for whatever reason that excited you, that filled you with the fascination and the interest. So your ability to take that information on board and remember it is greater than things that you might feel was more mechanical and less pertinent or relevant to your own set of interests. So the reason I go through that is, one, we'll have our own lifestyles that are different, and two, we'll have our own preferences or interest areas. And depending on what your interest area is, will depend on how well you not only demonstrate interest while you're studying that, how you'll connect the dots with that to be able to retain and remember it, and the length of time for which you will remember it. So by going through this point, I want to highlight for you that you can change your interests at any point in time. So for example, you may have no interest, none whatsoever, in ballroom dancing. All right, so you're sitting there going, ballroom dancing, couldn't think of anything worse now. I'm not saying that it is or isn't good, I'm just giving an example here. And all of a sudden you meet this person and they do ballroom dancing. And you have this ability to suddenly show interest. Well, you like this person, so you're going to like what they like. You're going to be interested in what they're interested in because that builds relationship and connections. That ability to connect with somebody comes from a shared interest. And you may not have initially had an interest in ballroom dancing, but now that you have this conversation with this lovely person who you would like to get to know better, you're talking about ballroom dancing all the time. In fact, you might look it up on a YouTube video, you might find out more about it, you might listen there going, wow, that's really interesting, that's fascinating, and you're taking it all in and you're remembering it and you're bringing it up in conversations because there is a reason for you to learn this. Apply the learning to your conversational processes, retain it in memory, and bridge the gap between what you didn't know before but you do now and its ability to weave into other conversations. That's how interest works. You need to be able to find the same interest for the subjects that you learn. You need to say, how can this be relevant, pertinent? How can this make sense to me in the context and scope of everything that I'm learning so I can have a greater interest, therefore weave my knowledge around it and experiences into it so that I can suddenly start to have revelation about its value, its meaning, its purpose. And then when I become excited about how this could in fact be more significant or valuable, I start to remember it better. I have anchors for it and my perception for how it fits together is increased. And now I have the capacity to perform better in my exams, retain that information for a longer period of time, and build a framework. We scaffold this knowledge so that we become more knowledgeable, and it turns from knowledge to experience, from experience to wisdom, and it allows us to accelerate and warp our growth and development. So get interested in everything that you have studied. Become fascinated by the mechanisms of everything that you're learning. When you do that, your learning will be more rapid, it will be more complete, and it will be retained. So I hope you find that a fascinating point of reference, and that you can start to incorporate that within all that you do, whether it's university study, whether it's course study, whether it's your communication with others. Become interested. It is much more valuable than even being interesting. Hope you enjoyed that.